Hello and welcome to episode 10 of The Australian Runner, a weekly show about running and everything running related. I'm Ben, and with me is Chris.
Hello, everyone.
Last week we spoke about warming up, so this week is all about cooling down and recovery. Alright, let's get started. So Chris, last week we spoke about the importance of warming up, but what about the cool down?
The cooldown is just as important, and it helps get your body back to its normal state and into a position where you can be ready to run your next session. The cooldown aims to remove waste byproducts created by the high-intensity exercise, and these byproducts include lactic acid and hydrogen ions, that burning feeling you feel in your legs. As well, a cooldown should help muscles return to their original length because during exercise they tighten up a bit.
So we spoke last week, so check that out if you haven't already listened to it. So last week we were talking about a lot of the parts of your warm-up is getting the flexibility into the muscles and making them warm up. So obviously for the recovery, we're going to try and return them back to where they were at the start.
Yeah.
What would one of the first steps in a recovery be?
The first step should be to go for a slow run or jog like you would in a warm-up, but do it in a cool-down. So easy, 5 to 10 minutes. This can even be walking if you want. And the aim here is to get rid of those waste products through the process of oxidization. So this is where basically the aerobic system transfers all those hydrogen ions, lactic acid, and whatever into the bloodstream. And there's oxidization processes where the oxygen in the blood oxidizes these base products because they're from the anaerobic energy system when you don't use oxygen. And then what that happens is they take them to the kidneys and liver and wherever where they can be broken down.
Yeah, and filtered out of your blood.
Exactly. The body gets rid of them. So running for that 5 to 10 minutes, you increase your breathing and keep your blood flow high to the muscles to help push all that waste out.
Is that why you get lactic acid building up in your legs and you want to throw up if you've done a particularly hard session or run?
Yeah, so when you run above where the aerobic system can take you, you start producing energy without oxygen anaerobically, and that causes the waste products to occur because in the aerobic system there's very few waste products.
Right, so by walking and jogging afterwards, you're sort of massaging it out of your legs.
Yeah, you're helping the blood flow, you're increasing it to your legs, all this oxygenated blood to your legs to remove it and push it out of the muscles. So I'd probably run for 5 to 10 minutes, but if you still feel your legs are heavy, I'd continue it a bit further until you're nearly back to running normal pace.
Okay. So now after you've done your 5 to 10 minute walk or jog, the next thing you can do is static stretching.
Yeah, I agree. Static stretching, as opposed to the dynamic stuff you did beforehand, is where you just hold a stretch. It's probably the most common sort of stretching everyone would know, like sitting on the ground, trying to touch your toes, holding your ankles up to your bum to stretch your quads, all of those sorts of stuff. With static stretching, remember to hold the stretch for 15 to 20 seconds and do each muscle 2 to 3 times and have 20-second breaks, say, in between each set and shake out your legs after each. Hopefully by the end of this, you've recovered some of your flexibility and your muscles have started to return to their normal length and have started to feel back to normal again.
One good tip is that if you're feeling really tight afterwards, you can use a towel. So if you can't touch your toes, for instance, sit on the ground and then fling the towel over your foot and then pull that and it'll help you pull forward. And then obviously if you're going to stretch it 2 or 3 times, by maybe second or third time, it will have
You'll be able to touch your toes.
Yeah, loosened enough. So you're still getting the full stretching benefits.
Yeah, so with static stretching, I'd target your hamstrings, quads, glutes, calves, really anywhere else that's tight, sometimes groin as well.
Yeah, so these are some of the things that you do immediately following your event. Now we'll go on and talk about your post-session recovery rather than just the cool down. So one of the most famous ways to recover is an ice bath.
Yeah, you see it everywhere these days. Ice bars. I remember watching on TV. You see these players jump in
The
wheelie
wheelie
bins
bins, yeah.
full of ice. So it's everywhere these days in professional sport. But what do they actually do? What they do is the cold water, the ice, helps constrict the blood vessels in the muscles. And this clamping or constriction pushes the lactic acid out into the bloodstream. It's like a toothpaste. You squeeze it and then it shoots out.
It's a very graphic way to describe it.
So it squeezes your muscles, the cold rather than the water pressure.
By constricting those blood vessels.
Yeah, exactly. And with that constriction, it also helps reduce swelling at the muscle site if there is any. So some of those contact sports, that's the secondary reason why they do it. Not such an issue in running, but maybe if you've got an injury, you'll see some swelling or a strain or something along those lines.
A couple of guidelines for how cold an ice bath should be. So it should be about 10 degrees if you're new to doing ice baths. But every time you can do it, you can slightly lower the temperature. The general rule of thumb is that a full-size ice cube should take about 2 or 3 minutes to melt. So you're not getting really, really cold. Like if you put salt in it, you'd be able to lower it below 0, and you don't want to do that. So you want to be in there for 6 to 8 minutes for maximum effect, and it's not advised to be in there for any longer than 10 minutes because this might cause hypothermia.
It doesn't have to just be ice. That's the other thing. It can just be really cold water, and you don't have to think that, oh, I need to go down to 7-Eleven and buy a couple of bags of ice after every session. You might only want to do this after races, maybe just once a week as a form of recovery for the overall week's training load.
Yeah, because it's the cold water that is what's constricting the blood vessels and helping recovery. It doesn't have to be ice cold, is what you're saying. It just has to be cold.
Yeah, so you could even go down to an ocean or a nearby river or something. You see AFL players always in their Speedos during the season down at St Kilda Beach, and that's basically what they're doing, some sort of similar activity, just with the cold ocean water. Also, you've got to be aware that water is cool. Moving water is cooler than still water. So being at the beach or in a cold spa, it'll feel much colder, and you won't have to be in as long, or the water can be warmer to produce similar effects to that of still water.
In a similar theme, another thing that you can do is take hot, cold showers. So this is a lot easier than taking an ice bath because you can just do it while you're having your shower after your run. So all you want to do, as the name implies, is you want to have the shower on completely cold for about a minute and then turn it on pretty hot for another minute and then repeat this back and forth a couple of times. So this has the effect of when it's cold, it constricts the blood vessels, but then when it's warmer, it promotes blood flow to the muscles and helps move all those waste products out as well into the bloodstream.
Another way to help recover is to use a foam roller or to get a massage. Basically, they're the same thing. A foam roller this is getting scientific here, a self-myofascial release of the muscles. Essentially, it is a way to massage the muscles and help return them to their original length. And it also helps move on byproducts out of the muscle site if there are any left. So if you've never used a foam roller before, there's heaps of tutorial videos. You can buy one up. You basically just roll back and forth over the muscle site a couple of times or for as long as you want, and you'll feel a massage type effect occurring.
Yeah, and it's really easy to use as well, and you use it on all your main muscle groups like your quads, calves, hamstrings, the ITB, which is on the side of your thigh. Yeah, I love the foam roller. It always helps me recover like really quickly. So like you said, it's basically like getting a massage, which is really helpful in getting out all those knots and tight areas of your muscles.
Yeah, I think we could really leave massages to the elites. Most of the time, they're probably too expensive to be worth it for us amateur runners. I don't think I've ever booked myself in for a massage, but I do foam roll maybe 4 or 5 nights a week just before I go to bed, and I definitely feel much better the next morning when I wake up.
And it's really easy to do, just sit in front of the TV and foam roll your quads.
You can,
Easy.
you can.
That's all the main ways to recover and cool down after doing a hard run. But one important thing that most people forget about is sleep. When you're sleeping, that's when your body starts to repair itself as well. And really, you can't underestimate how good sleep is for your physical and mental well-being.
Definitely. Make sure you get some shut eye.
I think we're planning on doing a show about sleep in the near future, so we'll be talking about it more in depth then.
Definitely.
So I think that finishes the first half of the show, and I hope you found that useful. So I'll pass it over to Chris for the news.
Over the weekend, we had one of the big track meets of the Australian athletics calendar. We had the Hunter Track Classic in Newcastle on the New South Wales Central Coast. There were a couple of big races and big names present. In the men's 800 metres, Alex Rowe, the Australian record holder, won the race in 1:47.78 ahead of Mason Cohen, third at last year's Nationals in what was a quick race. The women's 800 metres, which was a stacked field including several Rio Olympians in Lyndon Hall, who made the 1500 metre semi-finals in Rio, Annalise Ruby, 400 metre runner, and Zoe Buckman, another Rio 1500 metre semi-finalist, all ran in this 800 metres. The surprise winner in all of this was Laura Story, running 2:03.62 to take out the win. But it was a close race, and only 1.5 seconds covered the entire field of 9 runners. In the men's 1500 metres, Geordie Williams won just ahead of Jordan Guzman with a time of 3:41.4, and it would be interesting to see how their rivalry progresses during the course of the season. In the women's 400 metres, Morgan Mitchell has had her fastest ever season opener, running 51.96, which also is the 6th time she has broken 52 seconds in her career. And the run also doubles as a qualifier for the World Champs in London later this year. So it was really good for her to get it out of the way early so she can just concentrate on peaking at the right time. In the men's 100 metres, Nick Andrews took the win in 10:55, ahead of Ryan Browning, second in 10:58. Both are just 19 years old, so it looks like our men's sprinting is in good hands. Then on Sunday, we moved to Canberra to Stromlo Forest for the IAAF World Cross Country Trials. The first 3 across the line are automatically selected before the judges decide on the remaining 3 spots to create a team of 6 men and 6 women. In the men's 10K race, first past the post was Rio 5,000 metre finalist Brett Robinson with a time of 29:42. Stuart McSwain was second with 29:45. And Jack Rayner third with 29:53. In the women's race, the winner was Anna Kelly with a time of 35:07. Second was Emily Ryan, 35:43, and rounding out the top 3 was Gemma Maney with 35:58. Lauren Ryan, who represented Australia at the World Under-20 Championships last year, took out the girls' 6-kilometre race with a time of 21:39, and Callum McCluskey won the boys' 8-kilometre race with a time of 25:40. The World Cross Country Championships will take place in Kampala in Uganda on March 26th. Moving up the coast to Queensland again, at the Denise Boyd Shield, Alex Hartman took out the men's 100 metre, 200 metre double with exciting times of 10:39 and 20:92 respectively, ahead of a quality field including Trey Williams. Alex Hartman looks to continue his great form with next week's Nitro Athletics series. And that wraps up this week's athletics news.
Great, thanks for that, Chris. That wraps up the show for this week. Thank you everyone for listening. You can find us on iTunes, YouTube and SoundCloud as The Australian Runner, and check us out on Facebook and Instagram too. See you next week.
See you then. You can nearly just leave the muscles to the elites, or if you've got
Massages.
if you're really sore or tight.
Just
What
leave
else?
the muscles to the
We could really leave massages to the elites.